How has travel enhanced our lives?
Welcome to No Borders with Brian and Carrie, and that is exactly what we are going to be discussing in this episode today. Is just, I don't know, everything that has changed over the last 3 years.
Everything that's happened to us over the last 3 years, and honestly, we really thought that going into this thing, our culture shock would be much more than it actually was. But it did have an effect.
It did, and we've seen a lot of changes in ourselves personally. We've seen changes in ourselves as a couple. We've just seen a lot of changes in how we handle everything.
Now, I just mentioned culture shock, cultural awareness. What's the difference between what we're used to and where we're currently at, wherever that may be? To me, it didn't seem like anything was that much different if you really dig deep.
Well, I think that the biggest thing for me is that we have these ideas, you know, what we've been fed in the news and stuff about different countries. And, you know, unless you travel there, one thing we very much have realized is unless we get there, we won't know any different.
No, you really won't know. I think for me, the best example was when we went to Turkey. You know, I was expecting something different than what I got. I don't know what I was really thinking that I would get. From the culture, from the people, from the landscape, everything included. But it's not what I thought it would be.
Well, you even said you expected there just to be a lot of desert space.
Right.
Yeah.
Desert and camels and I know. But I wasn't pleasantly surprised. I was just surprised at what I got. And to me, it's kind of eye-opening. It started a lot earlier than Turkey, though. It started really, for me, I would say right out of the gate in Spain, but when we went to Albania, you know, there's a wife, a husband pushing their daughter in a stroller, and their son is kicking a soccer ball down the walk. You would see that anywhere in the United States, in Great Britain, in Australia, anywhere in the world, you're going to see that same thing. They're not any different than we are.
No, yeah, I think that was a big just. Not even eye-opener, just kind of slap in the face almost of like, no, things aren't different somewhere else. I mean, everybody goes about their same life. They are going to be going to school, going to work, going to the grocery store. You know, it was all that same routine that we saw. But I think just expectations, one of the areas we expected to have that shock more and was Southeast Asia. So entering right into Bangkok and into Thailand. And we expected to just really be like, oh my gosh, like, are we even going to be able to adapt into the craziness they tell you about and just how hectic and overwhelming? We just didn't experience that at all. I mean, we really just, it was not hard. And part of that might have had to do with we had traveled so much already. So that helped a little bit.
That might have helped a little bit. It was hectic. I think we had got our expectations so high on what it was going to be like, and it wasn't quite, wasn't quite what we thought it would be, surprisingly. And to us, it was easy to navigate. It was easy to understand everybody. It was easy to get food. It was easy to, everything was really simple. The food was simple because it was so good.
Right. I think that the biggest takeaway we've had so far is that because we've had so many people, when they hear of maybe a location we're going to, and Turkey would be another example of that, you know, you immediately have people jumping in and saying, are you sure you want to go there? Because they are going off of that idea and perception that they have from everything they've been fed of what to expect. And, you know, as soon as we got there, it was just like, oh my gosh. I mean, the people are absolutely amazing, so welcoming. We love Turkey. So, you know, I think that open your borders a bit to all these areas that, you know, may seem like uncomfortable, may seem a little scary. They're really not.
Right. Now, another great example would be where we are going to be going, and that's Mexico. We've got a lot of comments. Hey, you better do your research. Mexico's dangerous, on and on and on. Okay, we get that from people that have not been there. The people that have been there, or the ones that do live there, aren't saying that.
Right. And I would say that for every probably one comment we get of, oh, beware, there's 100 comments to back up with other people who have actually traveled there or lived there or spent extended amount of time that is wonderful. And they've had no issues. And, you know, there's always things to watch out for. We're not saying that you're going to go someplace and not experience anything. Be aware of that, but don't just... I don't know. I'm glad that we're willing to step over those boundaries and not just lock ourselves into the places that everybody says is perfectly safe and we're not going to experience anything different.
You know, and maybe we would have not gone to Mexico because of some preconceived notions or what you listen to on the news if we hadn't had all these other experiences, and that we've learned that you're going to be fine. Be aware of your surroundings. People are always happy to see you. It doesn't change.
The next area is personal growth. This for me has been a really fun one to see the changes, kind of going off of what we just discussed, you know, to push ourselves, to push those boundaries and to see that we can learn all these new areas, navigate places that we thought we may not have been able to handle, going into a place where they don't speak any English, and how are we going to deal with that? I just think that we have learned that we can handle it, you know?
Yeah, discovering other countries is great. Discovering the cultures, discovering everything that's around you is really fun. It's really cool. But what about discovering yourself and learning more about yourself? And learning how you can handle these things. 3 years ago, I never would have imagined jumping from country to country, jumping on buses, trains, navigating airports, doing everything that we do, editing videos, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about any of this. And so it is a confidence booster. It is something that you can take pride in, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, definitely.
So discovering new countries, discovering yourself. When you travel together 24/7, you also discover your partner. And I'll tell you what, it's a relationship builder, for us anyway.
Yeah, for sure. You know, when you're together 24/7, you know, I mean, we all kind of experience that maybe during COVID when you're in lockdown, you know, but it's not just the 24/7, it's 24/7 navigating different countries, navigating directions, languages, everything. And, you know, it really... For a lot of people, I know it's a concern point of how they're going to be able to do that. And travel is one of those that can push a lot of buttons in a relationship for those reasons specifically.
Yeah, you know, and it's funny because I think that in the very beginning, it might have pushed our buttons a little more than it does now. Not to the point where we were in fights or anything like that, but it was stressful.
Yeah.
You're nervous about it. You're worried about it. Are you sure about this? And she would say, I think so, and vice versa. So now it just has seemed to smoothen itself out a little bit because I've gained trust in her, she's gained trust in me, we've gained trust in the process, and we've also realized what's the worst thing that can happen.
I think that is probably the biggest part, is realizing the worst thing that happens is not going to be that big of a deal. You may miss a train, you may miss a bus, or I don't know, buy the wrong thing at the grocery store. I don't, you know, these things that seemed like larger situations back in the beginning, now we are just like, okay, cool. You know, you just learn to really go with the flow and not let those things ruin your day, where in the beginning they kind of could. Not all the time. We really managed quite well.
We managed quite well. We were very excited getting into what we were doing. So it was different than going on a vacation. It was more, this is what we're doing. This is long term. So we had a different attitude going in than you might if you're on a 2-week vacation and your spouse ruins it because they got the departure of the plane wrong or something like that. So for us, it might be a little bit different, but we have gotten this several times. I couldn't be with my spouse 24/7. Well, you don't know really because you haven't put yourself through it. you might be surprised.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that comes down to the style of travel you pick.
Right.
Now, if you and I were trying to do fast travel and moving every few days or even once a week or something,
yes, then you would be wrong a lot more times.
I think that we would see a much bigger strain on our relationship. I think that the reason that we've been able to manage those things so much differently is because we have a lot of downtime. We have a lot of relaxing time. We're not always pressed for time. And, and those situations where we're trying to navigate something or move on to something or whatever, those are fewer and far between instead of every couple days.
Right. And another great thing about what we're doing and the relationship building isn't just between the two of us, but it's meeting folks like you from all over the world. People reach out to us, hey, we happen to be in the same place at the same time. Would you like to grab a beer? That's a lot of fun for us. We do a lot of that too.
We look forward to that. Yeah. And, we have built some lasting relationships, which is so interesting because, you can meet up with these people one time and then you can communicate with them on a regular basis for years after that. Right. And then meet up with them again another year, 2 years later. And so, it's a lot of fun for us. It's always fun to get together with people that are also doing similar travels as us because we love to hear other people's stories. We love to get ideas from other people about where to go, where they've been.
Yeah, Juan in Spain, we met him in Portugal. We'll meet you again. We're still in touch, and that was a long time ago. So those are the types of things that are intriguing to us. We like to hear about other cultures, places we haven't been yet. We met a couple from Tel Aviv last week. Very friendly, very nice. Yeah. They had a great story.
I think this style of life for us, one of the things that's also very much changed is it's brought in this sense of adventure that I know I probably never had. I'm not a bungee jumper. I'm not a skydiver or things like that. I kind of live a little bit more simple life, but it has pushed us to not necessarily do those kinds of things, but go snorkeling in Thailand.
With sharks. With sharks.
Baby sharks. Go on a Halong Bay cruise. Right. Just find adventures that we would have not normally had.
Yeah, and we've got others planned that aren't going to happen anytime within the next year or 2 or 3 even. But there are things that we know we can do now and that we know that we are willing to do, whereas before it was a pipe dream. That's never going to happen. Or if I do go, it's going to be 20 years from now. So now we're only looking 2 or 3 years down the road instead of maybe 20 years down the road.
Right.
And that's very exciting for us. I'm not a bungee jumper either.
No.
I get afraid walking across a bridge. So I'm not bungee jumping anytime soon. But there are things that I'm very much looking forward to. The safari, Machu Picchu, some of those things that we all know about. Perspective on materialism. What do you need and what don't you need? Do you have to be a consumer the way you used to be? Probably not.
I think that this is probably one of my favorite ones and one of those changes that I've always been a more minimalist person, but not that minimalist. I still had all of the things that everybody has. I just didn't have excessive amounts of them. But we now live carry-on only. We don't have a home base that we, can take things to and unpack them. So I think I really appreciate that. It's almost now very annoying when we go home and I say, get a couple new things, or I have a couple of my other items that I do store at my mom and dad's house or at my daughter's house. So you have the selection, and then you go get ready in the morning and it's like you have choices. Yeah. We don't normally have a lot of choices, and I'm sure you can tell that by the videos that we do because we're always wearing the same clothes. I kind of like that. Yeah. I like that minimalism.
I finally got 2 collared shirts. Yeah. So I got away from the t-shirts and I got 2 collared shirts. So now I've got 2 shirts. Because I get rid of something once I add something. And when I go home, I still don't have a wide selection of clothing. I do not own a pair of pants.
You do at home.
I have a pair of jeans at home.
But you hate jeans.
But I hate jeans. Yeah. And I'm not even sure if they still fit me. They shrink. I think they shrink when you leave them in the closet too long. They shrink.
When you travel?
They shrink. So I got to get a pair of, probably 2 pairs of pants.
Yeah.
Because our next few places that we're going to, the temperatures aren't going to be too hot. So I'm still very limited, and I do kind of like it that way.
We do, and even talking further into the future of when we eventually settle down someplace and have a home base, we have discussed that that will be very minimalist. The beauty of that is when you get rid of everything from your home, there is something so awesome feeling about like going through your kitchen, say, and really purging everything and only keeping 2 bowls and a couple pans. You really realize you don't need 5 different casserole dishes. You don't need all of this other stuff. So it will equip our new place eventually way down the road with just the necessities, not all the extras.
Just what we need?
Yeah.
That's weird. That's a weird thought. Okay, one that doesn't really affect us a lot, but it is something that we do pay attention to, and that's just being global aware. What's going on around you? What's going on in the world? Besides any major war going on, what are the little issues going on that you might not be aware of if you just live in the UK or you just live in Canada or the United States? You kind of get inside your little bubble and don't pay attention on what's going on around you. Well, I think this has caused me anyway to read more local news. And I'm not talking local news, the city I'm in, but maybe the region I'm in. Right. Earthquakes, disasters, political strife, things like that. I do think that it makes you aware that not everything in your hometown is as important as you might think it is when you're living there.
Well, yeah, and I think that one of the things that we've really learned to appreciate as soon as we got out of the States, where we're from, that we were able to watch, say, news like BBC and Al Jazeera, and we got onto these news stations where they were covering all of the world's news, not just focusing on all the same things, and we know what we're all talking about, of just hammering down the exact same points every single time that you turn on the news. It gets old, it gets just upsetting and stressful. It's really nice to turn on the news and actually get that very broad picture of not only the countries we're in, but also the whole world, and just kind of really feel we know what's going on. Right.
Some of these news outlets let you know what's going on without giving you the opinion of what's going on, and that was kind of refreshing.
Now, the next area that we have improved on, I would say, is our problem-solving skills, and a lot of this really kind of also comes down to just that new level of patience we have with each other, but also just with the process, understanding things are not going to work out, understanding that there are going to be complications, things are not going to work as we plan them to go. Right. We've just learned to navigate those better and figure out a different way to, problem solve them.
Yeah, I usually problem solve things just by going in and taking a nap, get about an hour and a half nap in, I wake up, everything's taken care of. There's no problems.
There's no problems.
Figure it out.
It's been fixed.
Yeah, it's been fixed.
I go take a nap so that I can settle my mind, and then we get to it.
Yeah, then we fix it. The health benefits of traveling the way we do, for me, it's just as physical as it is mental. When I go home for an extended period of time, I get caught up in what I'm used to eating, what I'm used to drinking. Everything that I used to do or I would do if I was back home, and I tend to gain weight.
Yeah, that's just one of those things. Yeah. Everybody says that. You go back to the States and you gain weight. It's just the food that's there. It's not just how much we eat.
It's not just the food.
It's what we're eating.
It's what I'm eating, and it's also what I'm not doing.
Right.
When I'm here, wherever here may be, I'm walking, I'm doing exercise that I wouldn't do at home, just push-ups, sit-ups, YouTube videos, things like that. Where at home, for whatever reason, I don't have the discipline, I guess.
I think you just get caught up in seeing friends and getting out of a routine.
I'm immature. It's a maturity thing.
He gets out of routine. You know, we're in a routine when we're traveling. So, when we're home, we kind of lose that. But when we're on the road, we are just so much more active. We're we're more aware of what we're eating because we're not eating out all the time, where when we're home we're visiting friends and meeting for dinner and lunch and stuff. You know, and I think also because we keep our eating in is quite simple because it just has to be when you're traveling. You're not buying all those ingredients. Yeah, so I just think in general we just stay healthier. We feel healthier.
Well, and I think another point would be, you know, we do chase the sun, at least to a certain extent. When I'm back home and it's 40 degrees, dark out at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and raining, I don't want to go outside.
Right.
I don't want to go out and do that. And I get tired early. It's just, I get cranky.
And I think that's
I get ornery.
He does. He gets really cranky. I think one of the things is when we also the chasing the sun, being away from the rain and everything. It also helps our mental health. Of just, I feel better. You know, that was one reason we needed to get out of the area that we lived, is because it is dreary and rainy for about 6 months of the year. I mean, at least, you know, and don't want to over exaggerate, but it is. And that really can take a toll on you. And it certainly did with me, especially as I started getting older. And now waking up to blue skies majority of the mornings is so much nicer. I think we all know your mental health. When you wake up and you see blue skies, it's like, I don't know, you just feel better. Now, the other area is environmental awareness. Now, I'll be honest, prior to us traveling, I was not a really great recycler or very, very good at that stuff. I just wasn't. Actually, the city that we're from, the stuff says it's going to the recycling and it doesn't. It just doesn't happen.
Goes to the dump.
It just goes to the dump because they don't get the money for it. Anyway, so I wasn't very aware of that. I just didn't put enough effort into it. But then when we started traveling and we started seeing how much plastic is being used in certain countries, and Southeast Asia is the absolute hands down worst.
It was almost shocking.
It was, and it really changed our view on things a couple ways. It changed our view in the way that, you know, all of the efforts that everybody does elsewhere is just being sunk over there because there's no efforts being taken over in the other area. And so, but we felt like we needed to do our part.
Yeah, you know, just again, it's the mental health that makes you feel better. Just knowing that you're doing your part. Even when we go back home, we recycle now, even though we're pretty sure it goes to the dump. But it makes you feel better. It makes you feel like you're doing your part. It makes you feel responsible.
It does make you feel responsible. And when we also, after coming back from Southeast Asia, we purchased bottles that we can use to with a UVC light on them, so it kills all the bacteria. And then they also have a filter. So like going into Mexico, we'll be able to use those and not contributing to buying that bottled water.
Bottles.
Yeah, because you know the thing is that even if you're somebody who says I don't drink bottled water, when you're in other countries that you cannot drink the water, you have to. How are you going to get it? You're going to buy plastic bottles.
You got to drink water. If you don't drink water, you're dead in 3 days. It's a true story.
There's a fact for you.
Lifelong learning. Now, when you're traveling, you know, you don't want to just go into a place and wing it. We do our research. We look ahead to places that we're going. We do a little history on those places. We do kind of figure out what that country's all about. Something that we absolutely would not do if we weren't traveling.
Yeah, and just being honest again, you're going to learn a lot about me here. I was not very good in school at all. I had zero interest in history, and I think a lot of that had to do with I'm not a book learner. I don't do well from just looking at a book and reading about it, but now that we are in these places, I actually am very interested in it, because now when I look it up online, I'm there, so it makes sense. It clicks, and
it's more exciting.
It is more exciting, yeah. And you know, history isn't something that we share much on our channel. It's not our forte. It's not something that we're really great at. But it is something that I would say that it's really cool now. When we are in places, we're learning a lot about the locations. We like history. We just can't relay all those important facts through our YouTube channel. We know our strengths, and that's not one of them. But we do enjoy it. We do read up on it, and it's just something that I honestly believe if you're going someplace, you should know a little bit about it before you get there. Yeah, and also the other thing I'd add is geography. My geography, I mean, unless you've traveled the areas, now I can look at a map and I know all these countries I didn't even know were a country. Example of that would be Montenegro. we were looking for a place to get out of Schengen in the very beginning, and we're like, Montenegro's like, is that a country? I had never heard of it before.
No, I love
maps.
You hadn't heard of it. I love maps. I'm a map whiz, so it was easy for me. I knew where every place is at. I knew where Montenegro was. Albania now, I was like, Albania, where's that exactly? It's right next to Montenegro. But yeah, that's something that we've gotten pretty good at.
We've gotten really good at that. So our education keeps going on.
We're getting smarter all the time.
Now, being financially aware, we don't have an option but to be very budgeted, know exactly what we are spending each month. I was always pretty budgeted, but this takes it to a whole different level because we have to stay within a budget or we can't continue doing what we're doing.
Now, when it comes to a tight budget, I've always, I know how much money I have and I know how much money I don't have. So I would stay within this. But to itemize everything and do it the way we do it now, I wasn't used to doing. And again, it gets you back to that being more of a minimalist and less of a consumer. I enjoy it. It's nice to know exactly how much money you're spending each month.
Well, and I think when we were working our jobs that were full-time jobs, we knew what paycheck was coming in. You would be like, oh, I'm gonna go buy this, or you'd be looking at all these new things you could buy. We just really don't do that anymore. It has to have a purpose. It can't just be because we like it. It's got to fit in our carry-on bag, So you really think through those things a lot. And then I think that we've also just really started to put way more weight on experiences over possessions,
Right. Experiences over possessions. The possessions we do have, there's not as many of them. So we might pay more for those possessions, knowing that you're only going to have 3 shirts, so they may as well be nice shirts.
And they have to last.
They have to last, things like that. We kind of, we balance that out quite a bit.
Now, the last area where things have really changed for us is the ability to share content with everybody, and not just everybody else. It also gives us the ability to have content we've put out there that we can watch later.
Right, that we can watch later. We also have the ability to tell our story to friends and family, to new acquaintances. Because before all this, I was incredibly boring. I didn't have anything to say. I would sit there like a bump on the log. Now I finally have something I can talk about, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that we built some pretty darn good stories and experiences, and it's fun to be able to share those and also have the opportunity to hopefully inspire other people to if it isn't a life of full-time travel, it's a life of maybe just choosing different places to go, opening your eyes to different locations that aren't just that normal place that a lot of people pick.
So the purpose of this video wasn't just to give you an idea of who we are and how it's changed us, but how it could change you. How could it enhance your life besides just new experiences? It can be much more than that. So hopefully that's what you took out of this. Please consider giving us a thumbs up and subscribing and being a part of our community.
Now, if you'd like to find us on other social networks, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and on YouTube at Brian and Carrie. And then you can also find us on our website, which is brianandcarrietravels.com, where we have a lot of great free resources for you. All right, we'll catch you next time.
Cheers.